Kicking out Norfolluma's way. Here comes Daden. Scramble. Tigers. Alex Twirl. Alex Twirl has ended up with a ball. Oh no. Unbelievable. One small step for man. One giant leap for Alex Twirl.
Welcome to the ultimate super coach and fantasy sports show. You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Yes, you are. Round 19 is done and dusted in NRL SuperCoach, and we are live for the Sunday session on Insight Fantasy Sports to talk about the week just gone. The show's brought to you by the Standard Squeeze, bringing you products to help you drink responsibly and conveniently. I'm the SuperCoach Brain. The SuperCoach Mattrix is with me. Matty, you've had a pretty big week, mate. Tell us all about it.
Mate, I've had a rip snorter. I don't know, like I just got up, was just feeling fresh, decided I'd watch some NRL and ended up finishing with a really good score.
Just decided you'd watch some NRL after about 19 rounds of SuperCoach and 100 episodes of podcasts. Just decided one day you'd wake up and watch some footy, hey?
Yeah, it's what I do.
Very well played. Yeah, you've done pretty well. We'll talk scores in a sec. On today's show, as always, on the Sunday session, we'll talk about the winners and the losers from the week just gone. So plenty to talk about for round 19. We'll answer all of your questions as well. So if you have any questions for the week coming up or anything that's happened over the weekend, drop them in the comments. And also, this is your chance to brag. Let us know how well you went this weekend. Put your score in the comments. Brag away. We'll see if somebody has beaten Matty. He had a pretty good week, so we'll reveal his score very, very soon. And also in the comments, and this is a bit of a rare round, it is Try July, where we've seen plenty of good try celebrations, we'll call them, and some absolute stinkers. So let us know your favorite and the worst try celebration that you saw this weekend. I think there's going to be some good ones. But obviously it's for a good cause. So Sportsbet are donating $5,000 to every try celebration for Daniel Anderson and Nathan Stapleton, who have gone through some pretty traumatic times over the last weeks, months, years. So definitely a good cause. And of course, we'll talk about our trades and our trade thoughts, I guess, that will be then confirmed on Tuesday. I've got some pretty left field trades. I don't know about you, Matty, but I'm starting to get to a point now where we're getting to the end of the season. We're getting to the point where we've got through the major buys finally, and we've got one little mini buy to go. And I'm like, okay, how can I gain ground on the rest now? And I think pods are the answer. So we'll talk about our moves and what our thoughts are. But before we do that, please, guys, if you are on, please subscribe, please like if you're watching us on YouTube. And obviously, if you are listening to the audio on delay on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is you get them, hit that follow button. And if you want to go the extra mile, please leave us a review. Tell a mate about the pod. And also, before I hand over to you to talk about your score, follow us on Threads, because I don't know about you, Matty, but Threads is just taken over the internet at the moment, isn't it? It's
you're a bit of a threadhead. I
am a thread. Actually, I don't know whether I've seen Threadhead being used yet. You could copyright that very quickly. But Threads obviously was launched. I think it was Thursday, Friday, something like that, where good old Zuck versus Elon is back on. So plenty of interesting things to take from that. But yeah, we are on Threads at Insight Fantasy Sports, one word. So go and follow us on there. We are doing a competition as well. So all you have to do is go and follow us on Threads. And it's as easy as going into Instagram, searching Threads, and then basically just getting a ticket and signing up, linking your Instagram to Threads. It's as simple as that. And then follow us on there, and you can go in the running to win the combo pack from the Standard Squeeze, who are the sponsors of the podcast. So very easy way to win some Standard Squeeze stuff. But I've talked enough. Matty, tell us about your week. How'd you go?
Yeah, not too bad. It was all panic stations heading in because I brought Brimo in. I've got Cody Walker. I've still got Brimo, but just as blokes that I wanted to play this week. Anyway, so I scraped myself through to 13 after doing 2 trades. I brought in Munro, brought in Hudson Young, which didn't really work out. But in the end, Ended up with a pretty good score with 1,035. Harry Edwards was scrapped last minute. I went and brought in Max King. I ended up pivoting to get myself Preston back, who I had traded out for Schuster, due to having to bring Max King back in. Just pivoted 5 minutes before the game, and ended up with a really good score. I think it would have won if I played everybody in most of my leagues, or in all of my leagues. I'm pretty sure before I looked at the last game, I would have been winning. So pretty happy with that. And I think some of the scores in the chat of like 1159 and 1055, you're going to see some massive green arrows this week.
Huge. So late nights flying kites it's very fitting that late nights flying kites is listening to us at nearly 8 p.m. 1159. That is a monster score this week. Honestly, that I think the highest I've seen this week is 1180. So very, very close to winning the week this week. So massive score. Mark, regular follower of the podcast, in our Discord as well. 1055, possible couple of green. Top, not much movement. Yeah. So Mark's sitting pretty well. Pretty nice and high in the overall rankings at the moment. So hopefully 1055 sees some green for him. And 987 from Paul Walshaw as well in the chat. Captain CNK, a little bit of a left field play as well. I think the one thing to talk about there is that Nico Hines got a nice little update. I think he went from 91 to 109. So I think they gave him a try assist for the Sifa Talakai try that he didn't originally get. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't upset when I VC'd Nico, and I just thought I'll just ride that and hope that he gets upgraded above 100, and he did, which...
Yeah, a bit devastating. Like, it was a bit of an awkward number for looping. I sort of sat it there and foregoed maybe captaining Hudson Young, which worked out. That's probably why I'm so happy. Like, you know, I could have thought about captaining Hudson Young because I thought he'd get a ton. And then I sort of held back, thought about doing it with Osako. Updates came in. I was like, cheers, guys. Cheers. I'll take that.
Absolutely. All right. Quick review of our trades last week, mate. We don't normally do this, but I think it's probably worth talking about because we made some moves midweek that obviously we don't go and talk about on the pod on a Tuesday. I was starting to get, I don't know about you, but I was starting to get a little bit itchy. I hadn't done a pod for like 5 days and I was thinking, shit, like I need to do a podcast. So 5 days has come and gone. Originally, we talked about Billy Smith talked about Billy Smith to Munro, which I ended up making. And then I did Jacob Preston to Hudson Young. We'll talk about Hudson Young later. But those are my two original moves. And then there was another one. Luckily, I had the third trade available during the major buy round. Otherwise, I would have been in some strife. Harrison Edwards out late. So we had very minimal amount of moves we could have made at that point. So I went straight to Max
20 minutes before the game, right?
Yeah, it was an hour before the game, but I mean, by the time I noticed, there's about 20 minutes left. Everybody was in panic mode thinking, shit, Harry Edwards is out. And Harm Saleh was out as well for the Rabbitohs. So that kind of was a bit of a double for people. So I went Harry Edwards to Max King, and I know you did the same. Talk us through your thought process on the Max King trade.
So we had a really, really panicked conversation. I wish I recorded it. It's like, hey man, is there enough? Is there enough there? Anyway, we're looking through front row forward and second row forward nuffs because I think we both could have done it via duels. Anyway, and you're like, Isaac Fa'asumalai. And then I was like, no, he's going to become an AE nightmare.
Yep.
Anyway, and we keep going through and I was like, okay, I've got it. It's Ryan Sutton. Oh. And then I was like, oh, Ryan Sutton, like I could still bank some cash for my moves next week. And then I was like, yeah, like I don't want to spend the money on TPJ and I don't want to go sideways to Max King. And you're like, Max King? It's like, can we go sideways to Max King? Anyway, we looked a bit further into it and Max King had been ramping up minutes after being injured. He played 55 minutes last week. We both sort of thought that we'd be happy with 55 minutes this week. And ended up playing 80. So how good?
Yeah, I got ripped on Twitter for this. Fucking Twitter's fucking brutal, man. Like some people on Twitter just want to just take your head off for no reason. Anyway, good fun, good banter. I put on there, yep, King's in. And then some guy comes in after the game, mind you, and he goes, fucking terrible. 54 in 80 minutes, fucking shithouse. And I'm like, yeah, all right, mate, we'll throw a jersey on you next week, will we? Like, unbelievable. 54 in 80 minutes as a prop. The guy's a prop. Like,
Yeah.
he's playing in the middle of the field, playing 80 minutes. What do you want from him? So I'm more than happy with Max King's 54. 56, I think he ended up with.
Max King is now my 4th front row forward.
Yeah, me too.
I won't be touching front row forward for the rest of the year.
No,
I said I wasn't going to do it anyway, but I was probably just getting enough Harry Edwards after this week. Hey, it's a good result, I think.
And you know what you could do, and I know we have the same front row forwards. Christian Welch could become enough now. Like having Max King there as your 3rd front row forward is more than serviceable. And I think the one thing we need to think about is obviously Tohu Harris potentially being out next week. I mean, he came back on the field, so he should be okay. But at the rare chance, maybe they rest him or they give him a little bit of time because of all of the injuries and the lower limb issues he's had. You've got Max King and Christian Welch as playable front row forward options with Tarpany on the bye, so you're in a bloody good spot.
Yeah.
Any other trade moves for you to talk about?
Yeah, so I was trading out Jacob Preston and banking some money. And then last minute, I suppose I've sort of mortgaged my future a little bit. I only had, I was going to be finishing the week with 9 trades. Now I'm only finishing with 8. I now don't have as much money in the bank. But I've ended up going Schuster to King instead of, I was going to go Jacob Preston to Hudson Young. So I reversed that trade about, even though Hudson Young had played, it let me do it. So technically I went Billy Smith to Munro, Schuster to King, and Harry Edwards to Young in the end, which allowed me to have 14 and let AJ's shitty score drop out. Just one of those situations where I was feeling really well prepared for 19, ended up hitting panic stations, scraping my way to 13, pivoted, was going to have 12, ended up with 14, and it's all ended up all right. So pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, you started the week with what, 10, 11? And then you've ended up with 14, which is great. So it goes to show how important trades are, because there are a lot of people that have 6, 7 trades left before this week even started. So how comfortable would you feel making that last move to Max King if you had 4 trades left? You probably wouldn't have made that move, right? Yeah. Which means you would have been 50 points behind. So trades are king. Trades are king. Mate, very quickly, Standard Squeeze. Shout out to those that sponsor us and support us. thestandardsqueeze.com is the website. Use the code INSIGHT15 if you want to get 15% off. Got my 4-in-1. I've got my bottle. I even got the lid off preemptively because there's a little bit left in the bottom. And I've got a little bit of Coke here left over, so that'll get me through the rest of the show. You're on the beers. What are you on? Pirate Bay.
Pirate Life.
Pirate Life. Yeah, nice. Very nice. So, guys, get onto the Standard Squeeze. It's as simple as that. I mean, we plug it every episode, but it's a no-brainer, really, for me. The guys there are awesome as well. Quality product. They've just introduced, actually, a new product, the Double Shot. So, as you see here with the bottle, yeah, me too. As you see with the bottle here, usually the lid's on, but don't mind me. You've got the 1-shot chamber here, which is your 30 ml chamber. So you can obviously measure how much you're drinking if you need to drive later or if you don't want to get too pissed. But they've just brought out a double shot bottle, which will be amazing if you just want to send it one night. Just get the double shotter out. Happy days, ready to go. We're actually giving out thanks to the Standard Squeeze, a combo pack for anybody who goes in the draw to win a combo pack from the Standard Squeeze if they follow us on Threads. Very easy. And also, we'll announce on Tuesday the winner of the Unlimited League who gets a combo pack every single week. So thanks to the Standard Squeeze for the support. Try July is what I want to talk about, mate, because not only a great kind of, a great thing that Sportsbet are doing in terms of donating to people in need, but fuck, there were some awesome try celebrations and some absolute stinkers. Now, let's go through the stinkers first of all, because Late Nights Flying Kites is dropped in the Heinz Shuey after the no try. So the try actually got disallowed. And
that's the worst part.
Tough. Real tough. I mean, does Sportsbet still pay that out? Because I think they did last year from memory. They still paid out a couple of tries after they were given no tries.
I hope so. It's all for charity. Sportsbet make enough out of us every week, so
Yeah, they do. Us as in me and you, for sure. I don't know about anybody else, but I'll speak for us. Yeah, the Heinz Chewy was no good. And Mark's mentioned the Wallace meat pie chomp.
Was it
Now,
a meat pie chop or was it
I
like
missed
making
this.
out with? It was like
Yeah,
I
it
thought he was
looked
making
like
out with them, but maybe he was eating a meat pie.
I don't know whether this is a plus 18 show. I think we put this down as under 18s are welcome. So I don't know whether I'll talk about what I thought it was, but yeah, it wasn't great. Wasn't great. So yeah, it's good old Jared Wallace. He can try again next year.
Lemuelu can dance.
Can he though? The reverse worm. I don't know whether I approve of that.
I can't do it.
I'll tell you what though, Phil made a good point in the Discord. The Azarko golf swing could have cost about $5,000 worth of camera equipment when he's got the corner post and he's swung the corner post and you see the camera fly out the back after he's swung. Yeah, that could cost him. Sportsbet might have to actually pay for a new corner post camera. So, yeah, I don't know. Any other ones, mate? The obvious one. Let's talk about the obvious and probably my favorite, the Jordan Rapana.
Yeah.
Johnny Bairstow walk out of the crease stumping.
And it's made better by the fact, like, I know Piers has been on the internet complaining about it, but Elliot Whitehead being a POM, that's sensational.
How fucking good is that? I have so much respect for Elliot Whitehead. He's so also this was a bet, mind you. So I did a little bit of reading on this, and apparently the Raiders team, have set this up about a week beforehand. So they knew that anybody that was going to score, didn't matter who it was going to do this try celebration. It wasn't just Rapana. So and they knew that Elliot Whitehead was the guy that was going to be batting. So they set it up. It was a bet. So full credit to him. That's awesome. And also, Piers Morgan is the biggest snowflake on the fucking on the internet at the moment. If he's having a crack about that and getting angry at Elliot Whitehead, calling him a closet Australian, like, you're fucking taking the piss, mate. He is
actually an Australian citizen now, I think. So,
so he should be. You wouldn't want to be an English citizen after fucking Piers Morgan carrying on like a twat. Like, that is ridiculous. Anyway, get a sense of humor, Piers Morgan, you fucking moron. Let's move on. We're here to talk about NRL SuperCoach. Sharks 36 beat the Tigers 12. Now, as a Tigers supporter, not exactly stoked about it. But you know what? It could have been much worse because I was expecting much worse from this game.
In my notes here, I actually expected Tigers to play worse. And the eye test, they weren't that bad. But mainly Sharks weren't that good.
Sharks were terrible. I'll go out and say it. Sharks were terrible. They should have put 50 on us. Comfortably. We were bad, but Sharks were as bad. We'll talk SuperCoach scores very quickly before we get into the game. Hines 109, very popular VC or C. I think most people in the top 5%. I think there might have even been like 2 or 3 people, 2 or 3% of the top 5% of teams that didn't go with the VC or C for Nicho Hines, which is, I mean, bizarre. But
they're overseas.
They're probably missed lockout. 109 for Hines. Talakai and Sione Katoa, 103. Brett Nickera, 88. So they're the popular ones. I mean, Talakai was a bit of a pod, and obviously Sione Katoa had the really nice matchup this week. So 103 for both of those guys. You'd be pretty happy.
Hey, sorry, you've got a typo there. You didn't type in Ronaldo Mulatalo at all.
Yeah, no, Ronaldo Mulatalo actually shit the bed. Mate, you'll notice here in the bottom of my notes, he's right at the bottom. We'll talk about him very soon because he's not in the top scorers, and I'm very upset. But anyway, 103 for Talakai and Katoa, 88 for Nickera, 86 for Blake Brayley, who we spoke about on Tuesday, and we said, hey, this guy might be an option. He might be a guy that you want to get as your second hooker or even your main hooker if you've got a Reed Marnie or you've got a Sonny Luke issue. 86 for Blake Brayley. What are your thoughts on him? Because, I mean, does that make him an option now for the run home?
I don't know. Like, I always kind of liked it. If you don't have him now, you sort of wanted him for this game. Yep. I think I'm just going to lay in my bed made of reeds and just, and just lie in it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm the same. I mean, hey, we'll talk about Reed Marnie very soon, but he had a great week. So I'm not upset as a Reed Marnie owner at all. Jesse Ramian, 78. Sean Bloor, 76. So they're the mentionable scores, I guess. Now, the note I have here on Ronnie Mulatalo is Mulatalo 19 gross.
Yep. But you get that. Like,
yeah.
you get that with these Alex Johnstons, these Ronaldo Mulitalos, like these guys that have super low base but super high ceilings. You've just got to cop this. This was the week. I'm really happy that I faded him, but still, when I roll through next week or the week after, whenever he plays, I'm still going to be watching through slits in my eyes because I just know that he can score 120.
Yeah, and look, any winger that you get, I mean, aside from maybe a couple that kick goals or whatever, like it's what you get from a winger. You know, if they have a quiet night and they don't score a try or they make a couple of errors or they just don't get involved in the game as much as you would expect, they're going to get you 20, 25, 30, whatever. So, and that's the game that you play when you're picking Mulitalos and AJ's, which is another perfect option that we'll talk about very soon that did exactly the same thing with no Cody Walker this week. Mulatalo's a hold for the season. Don't panic. Don't sell. Just hold Mulatalo. Just play him on matchup if you really need to. I'm sure he will be in your best 4 centre wings by the season end. So let's talk Jareem Buller because, I mean, look, 3-4 weeks ago we said he was a sell and it's looking to actually be quite a good move right now, right? So 40 he finished on, and it's showing that Api Coruscant, Luke Brooks, the organisation and the attacking flair that Coruscant creates within this Tigers lineup on attack was Buller's kind of stepping stone to scoring Supercoach points, and it's just looking like that's just not there anymore for him.
It's hard. Like, he's a 19-year-old kid. I didn't really expect him to put the whole team on his back when these guys left. He's an excellent complementary piece. All these guys can put him through the gaps. Buller's a try-scoring machine. Maybe we look at him next year after he comes back down to 400K. Yeah.
Good point. He loses 100K this week, which takes him down to like 550. So we've gained 150 on trading him out right now at this point, which is great for us. 128 break even next week as well. So I would say next week you need to move Jareem Buller. And as much as this pains me to say, I'm a Tigers supporter. I love the guy. I think he's the shining light of what the Tigers have been this year. But as a Supercoach player, you need to move him next week. Otherwise, you're going to lose all the money that you made from him. Not all of it, but some of it, you know?
And like, we have held on to guys that I knew that I would lose money on, that I was holding for this round 19 buy. If Jareem Buller was that for you, you need to move him now. So he still has 128 break even. He has to go.
Yep, completely. You've got to get him out of your team. Isaiah Papali'i is a guy that we took a little bit of a punt on. We thought, you know what, 4% owned or 3% owned when we bought him. We thought, you know, we saw what he did last year at the Eels, but my thing now is that he's back on the left edge with Bateman now being shoved on the right edge because Bateman's a right edge second rower. He prefers the right side. Does this mean now that IPAP is a sell or even potentially Bateman? Because Bateman, he got 60 or 70, I think he got this week. I'd be selling IPAP personally before I'd sell Bateman if I had both. But what are your thoughts on both of those guys?
Attacking upside is there for Bateman, even when the Tigers are awful.
Yep.
I thought IPAP's floor was 40 or 50, and he rolls through with that. He went to the bench early, right? He didn't play a full game, which is the most concerning thing for me.
Yeah, okay. I missed that. I missed him going off. I didn't see it.
I mean,
or did he just go missing?
Didn't do anything when he was on.
Yeah, that's true. He was very quiet.
Look, I mean, like, regardless,
he played 74 minutes.
Yeah.
So he
I just looked towards the end of the game and I was like, yeah, he's got yanked. He's been fucking dog shit. Maybe we just need to think about moving him on. I don't know whether Jacob Preston or IPAP is a bigger sell.
Well, Preston's going to start to bleed cash.
What's that?
Preston's going to start to bleed cash. But I mean, IPAP will too because he's 36. But I mean, like, I don't know. Preston will drop back to about 550K now, won't he?
Yep.
So IPAP's already 550K. He loses $6,000 this week, which is really crazy. That's fine.
Yep.
I can deal with 6K, which is why I moved Preston to go to Hudson Young, because I thought, oh, well,
Yep.
I mean, Preston will lose more cash than IPAP will.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, Preston, he got 50 this week, right? So Preston,
Yep.
I don't know. I could argue that you could hold Preston now if you don't have other options or you don't have anybody else you want to go to in the 2RF. Hold him, sell IPAP if you got both, for sure.
Yep. Yeah, I might have to. That's a question that I'm going to be hit with this week.
Because you ended up holding both, right?
Yeah, I held both through this week. They both played this week. That was the important thing for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Kennedy was another popular buy where he got 51. He actually got a try assist taken off him. So I think he was on 68 or something and then got downgraded to 51. So you'd be a bit stiff if you were an owner. But a lot of people went from Buller to Kennedy, or they went a fullback, whoever it was that you had, a fullback that was bleeding cash. They went down to Kennedy.
Yeah.
Thoughts on this move?
It hurts when you do that for this week. When people have been talking to me about Kennedy, I don't know. Like, he's like a really, really poor man's Dylan Edwards. Like, I'd just rather spend some money elsewhere. Everyone was excited about the Sharks playing the Tigers, and the Tigers turned up this week. They did.
Yeah.
Like, regardless, the Tigers turned up. That first 22 minutes was an arm wrestle.
You want to know a fun fact about the Tigers? We have the least amount of missed tackles in the competition. Least amount of missed tackles in the comp.
Does it not count as a missed tackle if you just let them through without touching?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was going to say. So maybe if we just let them straight through and we don't get a hand on them, that doesn't count as a missed tackle. So yeah. But anyway, fun fact. And I mean, look, the Tigers were defending relatively well. They didn't allow 100 in the competition until like round 8 or 9. So it's not like Tigers leak a ton of SuperCoach points up until the Cowboys game.
They just
realistically.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just have shit attack. All right. So before we go to the next game, let's tackle some questions very quickly, or maybe a statement from Mark. Can sleep easy now that Schuster is head on my side. Brought Burton in as a pod play. Yeah, that is a round of applause. If you brought Burton in this week after his, 7 last week?
Yeah.
You brought Burton in off a back of a 7 and he gets 105 for you. That is elite. Very, very well played, Mark. Paul Walshaw also with 1 million in the bank. That is massive. He could do anything next week and 6 trades left. When do I trade in Tino, Munster, Haas, and Cleary? What are your thoughts on that?
So I would be So you just have to wait until how next week goes. Wednesday goes, and then bring Tino and Munster in. Just wait and see how Haas and Cleary pull up, and then just bring them in the next week. Honestly, if they're your targets, go Tino and Munster 1 week, Haas and Cleary the next week.
Yeah. Wait for TLT. Just have a look there.
But the 6 trades hurts, but I suppose you just have to gamble at this point. I don't exactly know where you are in the ranks, but if you're 5,000th or something, you really need to just have a dig. Like, you just need to get Tino and Munster in, bang. If you've got $1 million, you need to spend it.
Yeah. Sorry, I've been thrown by a comment. No, I agree. I agree with you. If you got $1 million in the bank, you need to basically plan what your next 4 moves are going to be. And they're 4 250K upgrades, realistically. Let's just bring up the next the comment. So Mick Delaney, very big part of the Insight Fantasy Sports podcast, hosts the AFL pod, is asking if Matty borrowed the jacket off Melon Meldrum.
I borrowed it off Spike Lee, bro.
Yeah. Oh, I've actually got tears in my eyes after I read that. That was good. Enjoyed that one. Oh dear. Okay.
All right. Let's head into the Raiders. So the Raiders 36 defeated the Dragons 26, and the Dragons, after just being freaking awful all year, they played some footy. They played some decent footy. Raiders, I don't think they've ever scored 36, so that's something.
Every week the Raiders score 36. The fucking opposition scores 34. Like, I don't think I've seen them score. I don't think I've seen them win a game by 13 plus in the last 5 years. It's been insane. Even guys like Ravalawa scoring 145 SuperCoach points. Like, that is just nuts. So Zach Lomax, that right edge, was lethal against the Raiders.
Lomax?
Zach Lomax, 138 SuperCoach points in this game. Timoko, 122. Amon, 111. Joey Tarpany, 94. And then Billy Burns, who we were talking about that Hudson Young was going to have a field day against, got 86. What are your thoughts on those guys? There's six players there.
He played pretty
big
good.
Scores. Billy Burns.
So Timoko was a good option, yes. Burns played really good. I was really impressed. I just saw him as a bloke that's always played in like the centers or the wing, and they bring him into the second row. And he was great.
Yeah. Are you talking about Billy Burns or Braden Burns?
Did I get confused?
Braden Burns, center for Bulldogs. Billy Burns, edge front rower for... Yeah, good. That guy. He was but he was okay. No, I agree. He was good. Joey Tarpany, 94. Everybody has him, so it's kind of like a bit of an anomaly. You don't really look at him. No one has a moan. Timoko was a great pod, I think, this week. I think we maybe spoke about it on Twitter. I'm not quite sure, but 122 for Timoko. Had a really nice matchup against that really poor left edge defense for the Dragons, and then the right edge attack.
At 450k, yeah, if you followed our try map, they actually leaked the most amount of points to that. And obviously the coaching staff are doing something similar, and they got the ball to Timoko and, cashed in. Yeah,
I'd say that Ricky Stewart and, who's the Ryan Carr, the assistant coach at the Dragons. They watch the Insight Fantasy Sports podcast, I'm sure. So, they definitely would have got those tips from us. Definitely not from their own insights.
I'm sure they do some deeper analysis than us. But we had the try map that said it. And I know a few people that brought in Timoko this week at like 2% owned. And, paid off.
Big pod play. Speaking of pod play, Hudson Young didn't pay off for us. 45 he finished with. And I tell you what, fucking Twitter ripped me on this one too. Shout out to everybody who, wanted to bury me after talking about Hudson Young. 45 he finished with. He was a bee's dick away from scoring 2 tries. This could have been a completely different conversation. The kick that he put through for, that Fogarty put through for him, hit the post. If that doesn't hit the post, it's in his lap. And then obviously he had another one really close to the line. So look, I mean, I'm not too upset with 45 if I'm completely honest. With what I saw from an eyeball test, I'm very happy with Hudson Young.
And I think the big thing about bringing him in, and if you followed us and you're really worried about it, was he did have like a 15, 17 break even, and he scored 45. So he's going to go up in cash. He's still going to get the same opportunities every week leading up to round 27. Let's go.
Yep. And I traded out Preston, who will drop about 30, 40K. So I'm about 60K net positive at the moment with that move. So whilst I'm about 5 points behind in terms of the Young versus Preston trade, I'm net positive cash. So not upset. And Mark has mentioned we're not alone with Huddy. Whilst we were the advocates for the Hudson Young Appreciation Society, or whatever you want to fucking call it. I know Matty's the president, I think, of the Hudson Young Appreciation Society.
He watched our TikTok. I'm pretty happy with that. He didn't like it because, I was really excited that he didn't get picked for Origin. I didn't mention that I was a Queenslander and that New South Wales don't deserve you, Hudson. New South Wales don't deserve you.
I am a New South Welshman and we don't deserve him. He should be playing. He should be playing game 3. It's as simple as that. We talked about Tarpany already, mate. We talked about Timoko with the try tracker. Now, let me talk about Jacob Little, who got 61 this weekend and he continues to perform every single week. And I know Phil, he's a regular follower of the podcast, a good friend of the pod, will be very, very happy that I'm mentioning him in this one because he got Jacob Little about maybe 4 to 5 weeks ago. And ever since then, Jacob Little has just come good. And Moses Mbai obviously has been playing either off the bench or not playing at all. So that's benefited Jacob Little, but good player, another ex-Tigers player that has gone to another club and done better. And he's gone to a shit club and still done better. So full credit to Phil and to anybody who took Jacob Little on because he's had a pretty good month. I guess the last thing to mention here is that anyone we're talking about here with the Raiders aren't going to be an option next week. And that's the risk that we took with Hudson Young, Matty, because now he doesn't play next week, right? So we're basically at 45. We've got a 22.5 average from Huddy over the next fortnight.
Yeah. Oh, Not really. I think I'll have somebody to play. We've got the depth to cover. If you've been playing all year, if you've been listening all year, you have the depth to cover from a Raiders player. I only have 2 Raiders players. Not a big deal for me.
Yeah, I think I'll be sitting on exactly 17 next week. So I could get a free loop, which when I brought Hudson Young in, I'm thinking, look, I'm going to be skint next week. I'm going to be in a bit of drama, but I've got the option to trade out AJ. I've got the option to trade out Cody Walker, or I could trade out Damien Cook. All 3 of those guys are in play for me to move. So that could get
And
me
now
an extra number if I really needed.
And now you've got the great Max King to play.
The GOAT, the king of all kings. Yes, I do. You're right. So, yeah, we stay ahead. But Matty, you're pretty involved, and I think we need to give ourselves a bit of a shout out at Insight Fantasy Sports because, it's not just NRL. It's AFL, it's NBA, it's BBL coming at the end of the year. We've got a Discord that talks NFL. We've got FPL coming up soon. There's a lot going on, right, in fantasy sports, and you can damn well be sure that we're going to be in every single fantasy sport competition you can find. So talk to us a little bit about what's happening over at NBA fantasy at the moment in AFL.
Oh, look, basically we are at Summer League at the moment. So we've started to chat about the implications of free agency. Robbie K and I sat there for, I think it was about 145 minutes. We were both pretty blind by the end, but we had the notes written down by then. So it was just the delivery that we butchered. But basically, we just chatted about each individual team, the free agents that come in, the guys that have left each team, and the fantasy implications from there. I've already been starting to work on my big board, on my draft board on ESPN, and pretty excited just to chat about the depth of each team as they get picked up. I know some of the other guys are excited to talk about the Summer League and some of these guys that might come in, some of these new rookies. I don't get, I suppose, very excited about rookies. I like proven quantities. But we have, I would say that we would have 5 and 6 guys that are going to be talking about NBA fantasy every day. And we all have different approaches. So yeah, you're going to get a real taste for it all.
For sure. So, I mean, I guess that feeds off the back of the fact that you need to go back and watch the NBA draft summary because the boys did a bit of a draft summary and they did a bit of a mock draft. I think it was Skiddy and Matty Garrett did a bit of a mock draft back in the maybe a week and a half ago before the draft. And then you guys, you and Rob did a bit of a summary on free agency movement. So lots to talk about, lots to see. Go and listen to the episode. It's on YouTube. It's on all the audio platforms wherever you get your podcasts as well. So go and check that out. And then we've got plenty of stuff coming up as well. And the AFL guys are doing some great stuff over there as well from a SuperCoach perspective. So if you're an AFL SuperCoacher and you don't know anything like me, I don't follow the AFL, but I've still played AFL SuperCoach. I've given it a crack and I've followed their advice and I'm doing okay. So go and check out their podcast as well. All right. Warriors. Fuck, this was a beating. Warriors 46 beat the Eels 10. I thought the Eels would be better than this. I actually also fucking got... Okay, just put this down in the book of times I got ripped this week on Twitter. The junior Bolo was going to have a massive game in this game, and he went missing. He decided, hey, I don't really want to play tonight. So, yeah, good for me. Anyway, what'd you take from this one?
I tell you who did want to play. Richie Barnett.
Yeah, he had a cracker of a game, didn't he? Got involved.
Which like not everybody talks about him in Classic, but he might be in one of my draft teams, and I'm pretty happy.
I think Mitchie Barnett's a guy that no one's certain about his job security. No one's certain about his role. That's the issue.
Mitch Barnett, about his job security. He's about 1 week away from being suspended for 6.
But that's the issue, right? Like, Mitch Barnett at Newcastle Knights last year was fucking awesome. How good was he? He had the goal kicking at one point. Like, I think I brought him in. Because of the goal kicking at Newcastle Knights, which is just a fucking shambles. But anyway, 126 this week. Now, I mean, if he gets a left edge starting role or a right edge starting role, I don't care where it is. If he gets a starting position, you've got to look at him. The problem is they love Jackson Ford. They love Murata Niokore when he comes back from his suspension. So
I love Murata Niokore.
Everyone does. If anybody goes back to the preseason pods, I'm sure they'll see how much we love Murata Niokore. But Barnett, does he come? He probably comes back off the bench when those two guys are fit and available.
I tell you who did perform. Metcalf. Didn't expect that.
I mean,
I expect him to do well. I just didn't expect 120 this week against the Eels.
I think the difference for Metcalf is that no one expected him to get this much time. You know what I mean? Everyone thought that what's his name, the 5'8", Tamari Martin
Volkman
was going to be Tamari Martin was going to be back. Everyone thought that Tamari Martin was going to be out for 3-4 weeks, and he's been out for 6 or 7. And Metcalf's got this extended run in the team. So like, and also when Metcalf's available at 5'8", it's a tough position when you've got only 2 potentially premium spots to give up. So 112 for Metcalf's awesome. Fuck, he's a good player. Like I really hope he gets some good opportunity moving forward. I'm just not sure whether he gets it at the Warriors, to be honest. So we'll see. Montoya 100, Tohu Harris 94. There was a little bit of a scare there with Tohu Harris. We thought maybe he was going to we thought maybe he was going to be injured, and this Gustavo question now has come through about is Tohu Harris injured?
He
came back on the field, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he went off hurt. He's come back on, played the last couple minutes. It's good signs. It didn't really hit panic stations because I was actually going to trade out Christian Welch, and then I might not have had the numbers next week to fill my front row forwards with Taps being out.
Yeah, who was it? There was a guy that gave you a call. I was like, oh, better call that Matt guy. Put the phone up. Hey, have you got Tohu Harris next week? Yeah, he just went down injured. You might want to trade out Harris and Edwards instead of Christian Welch. Oh, fuck, thanks, man. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Didn't notice that shout out in the pod. Sorry.
I don't know who it was.
Yeah. Mustn't have been me. Jackson Ford 77. Good shout from him. SJ 75. Popular captaincy option. I want to talk about the guys that got 60s this week because there's going to be a lot of heat now on the Jermaine Hopgoods, the Sean Lanes, the Dallin Watenis, the Lesniaks, the Charles Nickel Clockstads. They all scored in the 60s this week. Now, Hopgood, I guess, could be the next conversation in terms of like, do we now cash out on Jermaine Hopgood? And let me know in the chat for anybody who's listening. Let us know what you think about Jermaine Hopgood because there is a reality now where we think about Jermaine Hopgood being plus 700K. His break even will probably be in the hundreds next week. Do we move Hopgood to Fafita? Because there could be more cash to be made in that area, or less cash to be spent to go up to David Fafita from Hopgood. And then you could make some other moves elsewhere. I actually think, and I said it, I think maybe Sunday or last week, that Jermaine Hopgood could be a cash-out option. So keep that in mind. Sean Lane got a 60 with a bit of a junk try at the end. Very disappointing as a non-Lane owner because, I mean, look, also Lane is in the conversation. He becomes in the conversation because we know that he's a top 5 2RF when he's healthy. We know that he connects really well with Dylan Brown, who's going to be back in round 23. So there's a lot to talk about with Sean Lane, but obviously his cash is going to continue to drop. So I would wait for him to bottom out before I'd grab him if I did. And the problem with Sean Lane and any Parramatta Eels player is that the draw is shit. Perfect timing. Hopgood. We spoke about Hopgood a little bit last week. Now that you're back, what are your thoughts on him? Is he a cash out now that he's probably topped out in price?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's just going to be the easiest way to get to Fafita. I might even just fucking cop Preston and IPAP. And I think if I go Preston to IPAP, you've got to like nuff somebody like Alex Johnston or something to get all the way to Fafita. He's only 100K away from Fafita. Wouldn't you just want to go Hopgood to Fafita? You're not going to be playing him. You've got Matto, you've got Lane. They're still going to give Cardi Party a bit of a run. It's time to go Hopgood.
Yeah, and look, many people won't do it. They'll hold Hopgood for the rest of the year, but that could be the massive antipod play to go against Hopgood when you've got Lane back, who's going to be ramping up in minutes. You've got Ryan Madison now that won't be at 5'8" for any longer because Dejan Arce will now move back to 5'8", Mitch Moses back. Luke Roden's asked Hopgood to Tino. Now, let me ask you this.
I like it.
Let me preface this question with Fafita or Tino.
Oh, Fafita.
Okay.
Big Fafita.
Would you own both?
Yeah.
What was
I
that
would.
accent? That's fucking. Can we address that? What was that just then? That was awful.
I actually think it was like Rugby League Live 2 when Andrew Fafita got the ball and they're like, Big Fafita.
Yeah, because it was probably Ray Rabs Warren or something.
Yeah,
Saying,
I think it was.
Fafita takes a run down the sideline. Yeah.
But 100% Hopgood's out. Honestly, like you talk about like learning from your mistakes. I'm going to make the same mistake twice. I traded out Hopgood about 10 weeks ago because Ryan Madison and everybody was coming. Ryan Madison, Sean Lane in his first stint was coming back. All these guys were coming back. It looked like he wasn't going to get a run. I'm going to make the mistake again.
Do it. Just do it. But it might not be a mistake. It might be a revelation. It might be a great move.
Yep.
So you've got to take the punt at the end of the day. And look, what are you sitting? 7,000th? Probably you'll be top 6K, top 5K. Maybe after this week, you had a good week.
Yep.
So like, you're not going to get into the top 500 or the top 1,000 by just fucking following the crowd, are you? Like, you've got to make some moves. So
I'm not going to own Hopgood to finish the year. 100%.
And I think we constantly talk about pods, right? We talk about players of difference. We talk about who can we get that no one else has, but we don't talk about antipods, which are probably as important, if not more, right? Like, you've got to look at, okay, who do I have that's well owned that actually maybe if I sell them, I could get ahead. And I think maybe Hopgood could be the guy with all of these forwards coming back into the frame. Weramu Greg probably comes back maybe around 24. You've got Ryan Madison ramping up in minutes now. You've got Sean Lane now back in the frame that's going to play big edge minutes. Like, Hopgood's not going to get all the minutes anymore. He's not going to be playing 60 to 70 in the middle. He's going to now go back to that maybe 50 role.
I will say Hopgood has been in the Origin squad. Like, he's just started to get these little accolades. Like, they have to. I just think maybe the best thing for the club is him playing 50 minutes. And if that's the best thing for the club, Hopgood seems like the bloke that'll just do it. And yeah, not good for Supercoach owners. He's probably, like, we talk about Dream Buller. Hopgood could be the best cash cow ever.
Yeah, he's up there for sure, isn't he? He's very good. Very good player.
May's up there. May's up there from last year.
Taylor May was
Buller's
one
there.
of the best. Yep. There are some good ones for
Buller's
sure.
there. And so is Hopgood. I just liked Hopgood's consistent. He is the only guy, probably sub 250K, that I've ever captained.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a fair shout for sure. Mark has also said, I don't own him, but I feel sorry for Sevo owners. I'm not sure whether there's many, but Arthur should watch DWZ and Montoya and just say, have a crack, mate. And I agree with this completely from what Mark's saying. I think Sevo, if he was allowed to, would run fucking backwards. If he was allowed. Yeah. Like, the guy's like 110 kilos. Look at him. Like, he's got no body fat on him. Like, he would knock you over in an instant. And he runs sideways into blokes. Like, just have a crack, mate. Just run hard, run fast, and run fucking straight. And I can guarantee you he'd have much better results. So, Mason Miller's obviously just joined us as well and said that Mulatalo and AJ can get fucked. So that's a fair shout, to be fair. They weren't great for our Supercoach teams this weekend. So
cost me a trade.
Yeah, it did. Mate, let's move on. Bulldogs Souths, 36 to 32. I can't believe the Bulldogs actually pulled this one off. But in saying that, they fucking should have won. They should have won comfortably with what Souths put on the park.
Tallis Duncan.
Why are we talking about him?
Did you see that try?
I saw it.
That put him in the frame. I tell you what, if he's not a Supercoach cheapie give it a year. He's only playing in the Origin games where everyone's out. Seems talented. Fuck, he's quick for a second rower.
Yeah. He's got like that David Fafita kind of pace, doesn't he? Like scary pace. I mean, the Bulldogs nearly cooked it though against a very, very depleted Souths team, 36-32. They should have won better. Blake Wilson with a hat trick, 112. He finished with Burton 105. Let's talk about Matt Burton because I mean, there's so many options at 5'8". I mean, sorry, I should probably rephrase that. There are so many, or there's limited really good options, but there are a lot of pods at 5'8". What are your thoughts on Matt Burton? 105. He's coming off the 7, so the cash generation aspect is going to be kind of hindered, I guess. Is Matt Burton an option now with Cody Walker, Munster, Dill Brown coming back soon, Ponga? Do we look at him?
There's no real cash generation to worry about at 645k with a break even of 100. He's just sitting there. Yeah. He's just sitting there, and he's probably worth 650k, and he costs 650k. You're not getting a bargain. You're not overspending. I think he keeps doing this for the end of the year, not scoring hundreds, but covers his average of 60. And I think that it's a good play. He was tremendous, but let's remember how depleted the Rabbitohs were. Let's remember he has a chip on his shoulder this week. When he forgets in 2 weeks' time, when New South Wales go 0-3 and he goes, oh, fuck it, I'm pretty glad that I didn't play in that game anyway. He was the best utility and he got snubbed. Do I want him for SuperCoach? Probably not. I want Ponga. I want Munster. I would prefer to hold Cody Walker. And I've probably got him in line with AJ Brimson because I think that they'll do exactly the same, except Brimo's 150k cheaper.
Yeah.
Dollar for dollar, more so.
That's fair. That's fair. Blake Taff, 102. Man, how this guy is not getting a regular gig in a first grade team is beyond me. I genuinely think that he could fit into a first grade team Tigers. Across probably. We'll take him. I don't give a fuck. I'll take
Dragons.
Anybody. I'll take anybody. Anybody. I don't care.
He'd be good on the Dragons. Paul Turner got a run this week.
Yeah, he's a very, very nice backup fullback, isn't he? And when Latrell plays fucking 8 games a season, at least he's going to get a run. So maybe he just stays at South. But let's talk about Tyrone Munro. 90 this weekend. A very, very popular buy. I think he was most bought this week, which makes complete sense. It's a no-brainer to get a 200k basement price center wing option that's going to play the major buy round. But there's a reality now that he plays the rest of the season.
Mate, he's great. He's fantastic. He's an athlete. He's not that good on defense, but
not many rookies are, though, to be fair.
Yeah. His reads were awful.
Yeah, they were. But were they as bad? Were they on par as bad as Valence Tavares' defensive reads?
No.
That's what I mean.
He's slow and his reads are bad.
He's never catching up, is he? Tyrone Munro, though, very nice buy. And obviously he's played a couple of games now. No one bought him for price or cash this week. They just bought him because he's a basement price option. He may nuff out. He may not. Who knows? But if he doesn't nuff out, he's going to score. He's on a good team. And if he holds his spot on that right wing, he's going to get opportunity outside of Campbell Graham. So you're in a great spot.
Going back on that try tracker, I'm going to keep him for the rest of the year. And when teams leak on that right wing, I'm going to insert him into my team.
Yeah, he's a great start or sit option, I guess, or as a consideration. And I kind of initially thought I would keep Alex Johnston as that option. He's still in my team at the moment, but maybe I could trade Alex Johnston and then Munro could be my AJ. Maybe AJ could turn into a Isaac Tungo or someone like that, where I could plug and play them every single week as an option. So anyway, Jake Avarillo, 85. I think the Bulldogs will be spewing that they're losing him to the Dolphins next year. He could be a SuperCoach option next year, realistically.
I don't know. He's better than Hayes Perham, right? Fullback?
Every day of the week. Every day of the week. But they wanted to persist with Perham. Maybe because they thought initially that Avarillo was in their plans at centre. And they thought Crichton was coming across at fullback. So they just thought, we'll just chuck a Razzie at fullback for the year. I mean, if you don't want to win games, that's fine. But Perham and Alamotti being dropped, I don't think they're going to see any more footy this year, considering they've just come off a win. So let me talk about Reed Marnie, mate. 83 he got. You've got Reed Marnie. You're a Reed Marnie owner, aren't you?
I'm a Reed Marnie owner. I've had him. I've made one trade in hooker all year, and I'm pretty happy with Reed Marnie and Reece Robson sitting there.
Yep.
Look, Reed Marnie, I need him to perform this week. I haven't been playing him every week. I've just been playing him, I suppose, on matchup when I desperately need him, and he come through with the goods. What a god.
Good player. Well, I mean, we know that we picked Reed Marnie because he's a good player. He's not a shit football player. He's just tried to overplay his hand, I think, in previous weeks. Probably the last 2-3 weeks. He's tried to do a little bit too much, forced errors. This week he went back to the simple play and did some good things for us. So 83, very happy with Reed Marnie as my second hooker for the year.
He's probably going to make 40K this week. He's going to be 500K. Do you step up someone like him to Harry Grant if you've got the cash sitting there?
No, not even a chance. I'm not going Marnie to Harry Grant. That's 200K you've got to spend, right? Probably more. You've got to spend to get, what, within 10, 15 points per game? I don't want to spend that kind of cash on that upgrade at hooker. I would rather spend that cash on somewhere where there's upside, not on. And this is no knock to Harry Grant, best hooker in the game. Don't get me wrong. If you have Harry Grant, do not sell him. I would almost say that you could get Harry Grant in if you have trades, but I just know that trades are scarce, and I don't know whether you need to force a trade at hooker when you're going to get an extra 5 to 10 points a game. That's probably the point I'm making. Toby Sexton, 70. Now,
good football player.
Good football player. And look, SuperCoach wise, you're not going to buy him, are you? He's on the Bulldogs. He's not a.
If he was
relevant
200K, having seen what I've seen from Toby Sexton, I would have bought him this week. But you look at it, and it's an awkward price. It's 470K, and he still plays for the Bulldogs.
Let's talk football for a second. He made the Bulldogs look so much better. And this is no knock on Kyle Flanagan, or this is no knock on anybody else who has played at halfback. And I mean, let's be honest. Matt Burton's not a halfback. He's not an organising halfback, is he? He's a ball running 5'8", or a centre, to be honest. So, having Sexton as a ball playing and organising halfback just looks so much better for the Bulldogs. So that was awesome for him. I really wish we got him at the Tigers, like I mentioned on Tuesday. AJ 21. Not surprised with Cody out. I think he's better with Cody Walker in the team than out of the team. I think he's a sit when Cody Walker doesn't play. What do you do with AJ now? Because I know you're an owner. I'm an owner. What are your plans?
I wanted to trade him out 2 weeks ago, and I kept him because I was counting my numbers for this week. And I tell you what, he was a 600 odd K bloke that scored my worst score that dropped out.
AJ will be 520K after this week.
I'll probably just have to fucking hold him then, won't I? If he's 520K this week. You're not going to get much else for 520K unless you nuff him.
I don't think you nuff him. I think you can go and look, there's going to be some options, and we'll talk about it on Tuesday, but there will be some good pod options between that 520 to 600K range. There will be some options. So do you look at matchups and you go, okay, well, this team has a good 4-game run. Maybe I got AJ to fucking, I don't know, Isaac Tungo or someone like that. Isaac Tungo is the guy that actually, spoiler alert, I'm really looking at if I can find the cash and make it work.
I'm spending that money on Fafita, not fucking Tungo.
What if you have the cash for both?
Oh, if I had the cash for both. Sorry, in this fantasy world where I've got all this money sitting here and I scored 700 this week, then yeah, I'd do that.
So what if you scored 956 and you've got the cash, like me?
Yeah, I'd probably do it.
Yeah, that's right. It's like a very quick backtrack. No, Tungo's been the guy that I've been looking at for a couple of weeks. So yeah.
Cool.
And we've talked about him a bit. So
we've talked about Tungo. Obviously, Penrith didn't play this week, so we're not talking about him tonight. But geez,
Tuesday he'll be.
And I tell you what,
the conversation.
SuperCoach wise, the guy doesn't have the pass button on his controller.
He doesn't. He does not, which is fucking awesome for SuperCoach. Speaking of awesome for SuperCoach, props that play 80 minutes, Max King. We brought him in. We talked about him at the start. He scored 56, I think it was.
That's
Thoughts
great
on Max
for
King?
a front row forward. That is sensational for a front row forward. Do you want to know what I expect out of front row forward? Nothing. Do you want to know what I got? 56 points. I tell you what, 40 more than AJ. By bringing him in, AJ scored, dropped out. And and I'm in the conversation for this week.
Yep. Yeah, that's the difference between getting 950 and 1050, really, for you. Max King, I mean, they're starting him now. He's gone back to big minutes. He's through that rib injury, I think, or sternum injury, I think it was. Probably both, a combination of both.
I don't expect him to play 80 every week. Ryan Sutton went down.
Not a chance. Yep.
Yeah, Ryan Sutton went down and probably bumped him up an extra 20, 25 minutes. That's mine.
Yeah. He played 65 minutes the week before. So realistically, I think his floor maybe when he's fully fit is about 55 to 60 minutes you'll get from him. But I mean, a point a minute, you'll probably get 55 to 60 points from him. So that's completely fine for me. Max King duel as well is underspoken about. We're not speaking about his duel at all, but that duel could be very handy moving forward as your fifth 2RF. So it gives you the flexibility to get a guy like Payne Haas in.
Yeah, I've only got 3 front row forwards with second row forwards and no second row forwards with front row forwards, so it doesn't help me at all. But yeah, it does give you a bit of flexibility.
For sure. Before we move on to the last game, mate, Raymond Campbell's jumped on. Appreciate your support, mate. 69-year-old SuperCoach, 877 this round. Been doing SuperCoach since it started. Never done any good, but still trying. My teammate, old boys, mate. Welcome. He's going to be doing the BBL later this year with us as well. We're going to have a BBL podcast, Raymond. So make sure to follow us and subscribe if you haven't. But good to have you on board, mate. Definitely age not a factor here. So rip in, get stuck in.
Tell the guys at the RSL to follow too.
Mate, let's talk Dolphins 23 beating the Titans 21. Last game of the round, Sunday evening. Thoughts on this one?
I really enjoyed the game. Like I see all the Queensland boys watching it. Going to Golden Point was exciting.
Let me ask you this. How do you feel about it finishing with a penalty?
He was offside. He was offside.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he was offside. Yes, I'm not that okay with the way that it finished. I thought Osako slotted it.
Yeah, I think he shanked it. But
yeah.
I mean, he did shank it. But I don't know. I'm going to go against you and say that I would love to see. And I know that there's a lot of different considerations with this kind of thing, and there's a lot of ways you can exploit this issue. But I'd love to see golden try instead of golden point.
Maybe you could do something like that if you still the field goals still happen, and then if there's no try at the end, then you still win. You know what I mean? You can still kick a field goal in Golden Point, and then if it gets to the end of 10 minutes and you're in front, you win.
Yeah. So I'm definitely not saying that there's a no time limit. Let's say that there's 5 minutes each way. Kick a goal, you can kick a field goal. The game's not over. You go the other way. Whatever.
I like what the NFL do, where if you kick a field goal, you can kick off and you get one dig back.
Yeah. One drive each way. I think that's a good opportunity, really, because realistically, Golden Point, right? You get the kickoff, you lose the toss or whatever. You get the kickoff, you run the field. It's game over. Because you can just slot a field goal. I mean, it's not that easy, but you get first opportunity to win the game. So essentially, everything is centered on the coin toss. So I'd love to see maybe some changes around that. But anyway, it's not why we're here. We're here to talk SuperCoach.
I mean, if you didn't Osako missed the kick. If he wasn't offside, Osako misses the kick potentially, and you get a dig the other way.
Yeah, in reality, just fucking get onside. That's the fix. So I understand the point. But I just hate penalty goals deciding games. That's all.
I mean, it took 85 minutes to get to a result. Dolphins were probably the best team anyway.
Yeah, fair call. Yeah, I think they did deserve to win for sure. 497, Brian Kelly 93, Chris Randall 87. So the 3 top scoring SuperCoach players were Titans players. And then you got Kenny Bromwich with an 86, Jaden Campbell with an 86, and Philip Sami with a 79. None of those guys are SuperCoach relevant, personally.
If you think Blake Taff deserves a fullback spot, what do you think of Jaden Campbell?
The guy's a fucking weapon. He should not be. He should not be on the bench for any team in the NRL.
He just signed again for the Titans.
What are they going to do with Brimo? Are they going to put AJ Bremson at 5'8" and just put Kieran Foran at halfback or something? Something needs to change that. You can't play Jaden Campbell off the bench. You just cannot do it.
They will. Everybody else is more talented.
Are they though? You reckon
Yeah.
Tanner Boyd? You reckon Tanner Boyd is more talented than Jaden Campbell?
I mean, with what Kieran Foran offers,
Oh, Kieran
he's a
Foran
better
for
fit.
sure. I agree
He's a
with Kieran
better
Foran
fit.
at 5'8". Yep.
Yep.
But Tanner Boyd at halfback. I mean, AJ Brimson's a gun. We love AJ Brimson, but
It only went to overtime because Tanner Boyd was slotting everything. You know what I mean?
was he slotting everything or did he slot one shot?
It's enough to get there.
Yeah.
Jermaine Asako, if he just hit one of his goals, he shanked a couple.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like you've got to get I feel like you've got to get Jaden Campbell in this starting 13. I feel like you've got to get him in the starting 13.
I think Jaden Campbell should be playing first grade on a starting team every week, but I don't know how you do it with this team.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that.
I don't think they should have re-signed him. I think you're doing Jaden Campbell a disservice by signing.
Yeah, but they don't give a shit. Why would Gold Coast Titans give a shit if they're doing him a disservice? They got one of the best fullbacks, and like at that age, they got one of the biggest talents in the game. They can keep on their roster. So
yeah,
let's talk about Jermaine Asako, who's very well owned in the top 5% of teams. He got 60, right? So
yep.
I was looking at this game and I'm like, oh, Asako's on like 27 or 37 or something like that. And I'm like, I felt pretty good as a non-owner, as an anti-potter of Jermaine Asako. And then bloody Khan Pereira just drops one cold and fucking Asako strolls over and scores. And, you know, I lost my head-to-head by fucking 7 points this week because of that, because of the Asako versus Valence Tavare. Now, are you concerned as an Asako owner that Valence Tavare is handicapping him right now?
Yep. I'm actually considering if I need the money this week for Kalen Ponga, maybe after watching this game, I go Asako instead of Cody Walker.
I think if Valence Tavare, and you'll probably talk about this a little bit in your trade plans, I think Valence Tavare, if he's named next week, could probably play around with a few people's plans with their team.
Yeah, if Branko's there, he's so good at the catch and pass. Like, I know we all bag Branko out because he does a hammy walking to Macca's at 1 o'clock in the morning. But he has played one game of Origin. He's pretty good footballer.
He's undefeated. He's undefeated at Origin. Branko and Edric Lee are both undefeated at Origin. Guns. Absolute weapons. Let me also ask you this. If you're a Valence Tavare owner, what do you do? Because that's me. I have him. I mean, price-wise, it's okay. But what if he gets dropped? What if he doesn't play next week?
If he doesn't play next week, that's better than him not playing on the bench. If he plays on the bench, you've got to get rid of him. If he drops completely out, then it's fine. Did you really expect this 200k guy to play that much?
No, not really. I bought him hoping he would nuff. Yeah, I was hoping he'd nuff. That was my hope when I bought him. So fingers crossed Wayne thinks the same. But the problem is Wayne will chuck the 17 jersey on him and he'll play 7 minutes next week and drop a ton of cash. And also be an AE nightmare.
I hope so.
Good times.
I hope so.
Thanks for that. Appreciate that. Connolly Lemuelu is the last guy I guess we'll talk about. 66 he got this week he got the first try and did the worst try celebration I've ever seen with that fucking reverse worm looking thing, that whatever that was. He drops back to the bench clearly when Felice Kafusi, Finn Diesel comes back. Now you've picked him up in draft. What are your plans for Lemuelu?
Honestly, I just saw him drop out in draft and there wasn't a lot of talent sitting there in that pool. I've just grabbed him. Let's see what happens. If he has a starting spot, he's a play every week for me. Second row forward, center wing. There's buys this week just for a bit of buy coverage with a duel. If he's starting, I think he plays every week for me.
Fair.
He's only one injury away.
Yeah.
Geez, talented. Looks great.
Fuck, he's a good player. He's a good player. He could easily have a starting edge spot on most teams in the NRL.
And outside Sean O'Sullivan, now that he's back, he looked great tonight.
Yeah, he did. He was good. Mate, talk to us about the Discord. I've already kind of mentioned it. The link for the Discord, if anybody wants to join us, is pinned at the top of the YouTube channel. So For anybody who are listening on the audio, head over to the YouTube Insight Fantasy Sports. You'll find it there.
So basically, we have this Discord. We have a lot of our fans on there. We talk a lot of shit on there, but we also talk our trade thoughts during the week. Like during the week, I was driving to work, held down the record button, and I just spoke my thoughts as to what trades. Whether you're making fun of them or whether you think that they're decent trades, then you have a listen. So we've got FPL, we've got NFL, we've got AFL, we've got BBL. Like the guys are just talking about the Ashes on there all the time. We're going to be hosting NBA, NFL, and FPL cash comps going into the year. We might have some free ones as well. Just basically, we want to facilitate you to play fantasy sports. We're going to facilitate all the guys in the same comp as you so that you can have your trade talks, so that you can have everything's all in our Discord. It's something we've been working on for a while, and I'm just pretty excited to talk about it.
Fuck yeah. Like, I'm looking forward to I'm a fantasy sport addict. I don't know whether I'm at your level because I know you're just a completely different breed of fantasy sport nuff. But I think
Thanks, man.
like for anybody who loves sport in general, right? It's the perfect platform to just chat sport with other people. We've got some really good people in the Discord at the moment, and people that love all sport. So we'll have some comps coming up, like Matty said. So looking forward to getting into that, mate. We're here for NRL SuperCoach. Let's talk trades before we wrap this bad boy up. What are your thoughts for next week in terms of moves? And look, before we talk about this, we'll preface this by saying that for everybody who's listening, these won't be our final moves. It's just our original thoughts after the games are finished. So what are you thinking at the moment?
So, guys, I'm frustrated with Alex Johnston, Hopgood, IPAP, and Preston. They're just shitting me to tears. I also think that to get some of the guys that I want to mention to bring in, I'm probably going to have to use either Cody Walker or Jermaine Asako. So I'm going to start with Jermaine Asako. So if Valence Tavare if I believe he's going to be playing center, I'm going to be a bit scared if they name Brenko Lee on the extended bench and start VT Dubs in, I suppose, Team List Tuesday. But basically, if Asako is going to be playing next to Valence Tavare, I'm going to use that cash to get me somebody I want more. The two people I want more is David Fafita and Kalen Ponga. If you want Ponga, or if you are considering Ponga, it has to happen next week. He has a 20 break even, and he's playing the Tigers next week. The Tigers played better this week, but Ponga has played better basically every week leading up to this week. I'm not as scared of his HIA. I started the year with Ponga. I love Kalen Ponga. I'm a Queenslander, but I'm not as scared of his HIA and dropping out now that he's played a few games. In a perfect world, I'd be able to get Munster too, but I'm worried about trades now only having 8. I've sort of mortgaged my future a little bit this week by getting Max King in, only having 8 trades left. But basically, if I can use only 4 trades to get in Munster, Fafita, and Ponga, trading out blokes like AJ, Hopgood, IPAP, Preston, I'd be really happy. If I have to use Cody Walker and Asako to get those guys in, I'll do it.
Nice. You're clearly thinking about not just this week coming, right? You're thinking about the run home. You're thinking about 2-3 weeks time. You're thinking about draws and kind of, fixtures for certain teams, right?
Yeah, because Storm have a fantastic draw. That's why I'm thinking of Munster. On current form, Munster probably just hasn't been that good. I've got blokes like Brimo that might match it for the rest of the year, but you look at Munster having a draw like this and Brimo having a draw like this, yeah, it might be time to start hitting panic stations when I suppose Cody Walker doesn't play every week. Like didn't play last week. He's not playing next week. He won't play round 26. You start to think, well, maybe getting Munster in, maybe getting Kalen Ponga in are those blokes. And I think what Luke's just mentioned on jumping in on Cleary, I'm going to be waiting. Is it going to be
Me too.
through? Is it going to be through slits in my fingers, which apparently is something that I
Absolutely, it
say
will
all the
be.
time now? Yeah, absolutely, because the guy's a talent. But those injuries that he's got, they have a 30% re-injury concern in the first 2 weeks. I'm going to be waiting the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think I've been actually doing a little bit of research on this and looking up like in terms of like recovery periods for hamstring injuries and all that kind of stuff. And I think 6 weeks is usually the go-to. It's usually the standard in terms of how long a player is out for with a grade 2 hamstring tear. So for Cleary, if he comes back before round 20, so if he comes back next week, if he gets named Tuesday and he comes back next week, I'll definitely be watching because that'll be exactly on 6 weeks. If he comes back in round 21, I don't necessarily mind looking at him and actually bringing him in. The question you need to ask yourself is, what's the Panthers' draw like? And you also need to ask yourself, will Cleary play round 27, which is the final round of overall, if you're chasing that final overall position? Because there's a good chance Cleary gets arrested before the finals kick off. So there is a lot to consider with the Panthers players in general and who gets arrested, who plays in round 27, considering they don't have any more buys.
Because even without Cleary, the Panthers have solidified a spot in the top 4. Maybe they shit the bed and they lose the next 7 games, and I'll eat my words. But they're the Penrith Panthers. They're not going to do that. He doesn't play round 27 in my eyes.
No, neither. There's no way. And they did it last year. They rested them all in round 27. So there's no way they're going to do it again. They're in first at the moment. So if they don't lose another game between now and then, they've locked in first. They've locked in a home final. I wouldn't be getting Cleary in personally at all. I might even go to SJ. Sean Johnson has a really good run if you're a head-to-head player between round 23 to 26. Sean Johnson and the New Zealand Warriors have the best draw in the competition. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get closer to round 23, because that's when obviously head-to-head finals will kick off.
Because I don't touch him till then.
Yeah, I agree. But I think SJ, if you're going to wait and you've got Moses potentially like I do, I'd hold Moses until round 22, 23. They've got a nice draw up until then. They play the Titans next week, which is a really nice matchup. Why are we trading Moses to guys like Cleary already? When you could just hold Moses, you're probably going to get the same kind of output, the same score, and then minimal injury risk compared to bringing Cleary back before he plays. So that's my thoughts on Cleary. My trades this week. Now, I made an extra trade that I didn't want to make, but I had to make, bringing in Max King for Harrison Edwards, which is where you're at as well, Matty. I have 9 trades left. I have 17 active players for next week. So I have a free loop, which is a big consideration for me. If Fafita is named and plays, he's in straight away. So I go Isaiah Papali'i to David Fafita. I've got the cash in the bank. Then I just need to toss up whether I go Munster in for Cody Walker. So Munster plays Saturday night against the Roosters, which could be a game he steps up for. I mean, the Sydney Roosters aren't a bad team.
Could be a vice-captain option as well.
Could be. Yeah, that's a good shout. I mean, Munster off the back of Origin. Let's just see if they win 3-0. If they win 3-0, he gets on the sauce. Maybe I'll leave him for a week.
The bags.
But, yeah. I was going to say, I didn't really want to bring that up, but since you said it, yeah, there's a good chance it's happening. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Munster is on my I want list, and Cody Walker missing round 20 and round 26 is definitely a consideration to trade out. Damien Cook to Harry Grant is also an option, depending on whether Munster's out or in. But then also, if neither of those guys are really tickling my fancy, I might go super pod. I might go Jared Croker to Murray Tuilagi. What are your thoughts on that? Murray Tuilagi -8 break even, 580k on a Cowboys team that's come good on the left edge. It's firing at the moment. Yes.
Yes, I love it.
Maybe we'll keep that. I was going to say we'll keep that to ourselves. We're on a fucking live podcast. Maybe we should have talked about this beforehand. But anyway, that's
no. Really love the Murray Tuilagi. It's getting yourself a piece of this Val Holmes pie that I am so excited to be eating right now. I'm sitting here with my apple pie, my rhubarb pie, whatever I'm sitting here with, and you just want a slice of it.
I was going to say another type of pie, but we'll leave that. Yes, definitely. I want some of the pie. I want some of that pie from the Cowboys.
They're playing good footy right now, and
They
they've
are.
come good. And Scotty Drinkwater's sitting there in the New South Wales Origin squad, just getting better, just learning some things. And the Cowboys, look, we thought that they would finish third this year. They're going to be playing top 8 footy, in my opinion.
I think they're going to come home pretty strong. They've got a lot to play for as well, which is a consideration. No one's going to get rested. They're going to be playing their best team as long as they can until they make the 8. So yeah, that's why I like Taulagi. I think he's in a good spot. So and he's at a good price too. So yeah, plenty to consider. 580, I think.
And what's his break even?
-8.
That's saucy.
Yeah, nice spot to be. I don't see him as a 750k guy, but I see him as potentially a 650 to 700 guy, depending on the run. And obviously, you've just got to pick guys up at the right time of the year. You know, you're not going to get every best player, but you've got to pick guys up at the right time. And I think Taulagi could be the guy. So anyway, it's a risk. I was like, Tungo's another guy, but I don't think I can afford him.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I suppose if you can afford Tungo, I think I prefer it consistency wise. But hey, I'd be adding Cowboys. I really wanted Nanai this last week, and I just couldn't afford him. So
yeah, it was either Nanai or Hudson Young, wasn't it? We both took Hudson Young, so he'll come good, no doubt. He'll come good.
He will.
Guys, that brings us to the end. Brings us to the end of the Sunday session. We've wrapped up all things round 19. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting and getting involved in the show. We'll be back on Tuesday to obviously talk about all things Teamless Tuesday for round 20. Another big week coming up where there could be, and it could be another massive moving week, honestly, with the amount of teams. I mean, I'm going to have 17 active before trades. So fuck knows what happens to me on Tuesday. It could be in all sorts of dramas. But yeah, plenty to talk about Tuesday. We'll dissect it all. We'll talk through it all. Join us on Tuesday to ask all the questions as well for round 20. We're nearly at the back end of the season. We're in the last 30% of the season. It's gone pretty quick. So
first year podcasting. I tell you what, we're going all right.
It's been fun. It's been fun. I've enjoyed myself. So hopefully everybody else has. Hopefully everybody else has hopped on board and actually done well this year as well, listening to the feedback and the thoughts we've given out. Guys, we'll be back Tuesday. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, obviously, if you're watching us afterwards, drop them in. We'll get back to you in the comments. But otherwise, see you on Tuesday evening. Have a good one.
Cheerio.